Hi, I'm Madhavi Nawana Parker from Positive Minds Australia. Thank you so much for joining me today to look at how you can build your resilience and wellbeing. So first of all, I'd just like to share with you exactly what resilience and wellbeing is. Now, there's lots of different definitions, and this is just a rough idea. So when we're looking at resilience, it's really important that you know that nobody is resilient all the time, and resilient people are not the kind of people that don't feel anything and are happy all the time, right? So being resilient simply means that you feel all the same emotions as everyone else, and things, you know, you get angry and sad and jealous and frustrated and annoyed and all of those feelings. But when you're resilient, you have the tools, you've developed some skills that help you keep things in perspective, and then you have the ability to do something about those feelings and get yourself back on course. So a resilient person has the ability to cope, to be able to handle tough situations and move through them in a reasonable amount of time. So there's lots of other ways you can look at it, but I really wanted it to make it clear that it's not about being really tough and not feeling and not getting upset, because then you would not be a person. So it's really important to understand that. And if you are the kind of person that feels a lot of things and isn't particularly resilient yet, please don't be hard on yourself, because resilience is a lifelong process and it's a skill. It's something that takes a lot of time to grow and develop, and the only way you can grow and develop it is through lots of practice, but also having the coping tools and supportive people in your life to build it. So it's never too late to develop your resilience and grow it. And so hopefully the tools that we go through today will be a great starting place for that. So the other thing we are chatting about, I'll kind of chat about them together, is well-being. So well-being is just that great emotional state where you feel pretty balanced and you wake up in the morning and you're ready for the day, and your body feels pretty good and your mind's feeling pretty good too. Like, that's your ultimate state of well-being. You just feel good. You feel pretty balanced and reasonably happy. So well-being is really, really important to nurture, because it is the emotional state that underlies all of our emotional states. So when you've got good well-being, you handle stress better, you handle anger better, and frustration better. So it's really worth working on, and there's some really practical and easy ways to do that. So we're going to have a look at some of those together today. Now, look, the first thing, and you would have heard this many, many times, and I think people really underestimate this tool for our resilience and well-being, but the science all around the world keeps reminding us the value of knowing how to pause when our emotions are big, and to slow things down and take some slow, deep breaths. And it just doesn't feel like what you feel like doing a lot of the time when you're not feeling resilient or you're feeling upset. But what we do know is a calm and slow breath is your best chance of switching your thinking back on and calming down and being able to get your mood back on track and your thoughts back on track. So that's your first tool, is finding a breathing method you really like that you can start practicing. And there's no point practicing it only in those moments when you're upset. You've got to practice it every day. So I just grab whatever opportunity I can to practice breathing, whether it's waiting in a line in the supermarket, or when I'm in the car waiting to pick up my children, or waiting in a supermarket line. Instead of grabbing my mobile phone out, I take that moment to pause. I still grab that out sometimes too. But when I can and when I remember, I see it as an opportunity to just bring myself back into a really nice state of calm and relaxation. And what you do every time you practice it is you wire the parts of your brain that help you be calmer. So it is a lifelong practice, and you know, the earlier you start doing it, the calmer you're going to feel in every stage of your life. So deep, slow breathing techniques work. They're backed up by science, and they help switch your thinking back on. My personal favorite, I've got two favorites actually, which is the square breathing, which many of you might have heard about, and also the 4-7-8 breath, which I also really love, where you breathe in through your nostrils for 4 seconds, you hold for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out through tight pursed lips for 8. So like that, and that tightening of the lips helps slow your breath down. So you might want to think about looking into that, have a bit of a Google, talk to some people and see what breathing methods you like. You know, some other ways to get really good practice: yoga, Pilates. You know, when you're out exercising and moving, you quite naturally will take bigger and deeper breaths, but the more you practice that, the more resilient you'll be, and also the better for your well-being as well. So being able to handle your feelings is another really important tool for being resilient and having healthy well-being. And again, nobody's born knowing how to do this stuff. You've got to be really kind and understanding towards yourself if you don't know yet what to do with those tough emotions. You know, uncomfortable feelings are like the worst. It doesn't feel good to have sadness and jealousy and anger and annoyance. They're really uncomfortable in your body, and it's only natural to want to stamp them out any way you can. And it's, you know, there's lots of ways we can do that, and they're not all particularly healthy. So it's really, really important to invest in learning some tools to manage your feelings, to really start nourishing the wiring in your brain so that you can be more resilient over time and that you can have a good state of well-being. So when we look at, you know, how to feel better, basically, you know, a feeling brings about a lot of extra energy, and that extra energy will come, say if you're a person that gets worried about things or gets anxious, you know, when your body goes into that fight flight kind of mode, it sends a whole bunch of neurochemical fuel through your muscles that are basically telling your muscles, commanding them, move, get out of here, you're in danger. And along with that often comes a lot of thoughts, you know, lies in your head that are telling you to get safe when sometimes you're perfectly safe, but your body is in that state of worry. So it's really important that you understand that feeling of panic and worry is often coming from what's happening in your body itself. So movement's an excellent tool for moving that energy out and bringing it to a calm state so that you can actually switch your logical thinking back on and realize, okay, everything is actually okay and I'm going to be all right. So there's lots of different ways you move, and it's got to be ways you like to move. So have some time, take some time to think about how you like to move and what kind of movement works for you. But again, here's the thing, none of this is going to work if the only time you're doing it is in that moment where you're not feeling resilient. For the brain and the body to wire for these things, we've got to get lots and lots and lots of practice using those tools. So have a think about it. You know, movement might come in the way of a walk, it might come in the way of dance, it might come in the way of getting on a bike and going for a ride, taking a jog, playing sport, doing some laps of your backyard, playing with your dog. There's lots and lots and lots of ways to move, and it's important. Our bodies are designed to move around. So think of some ways that you can do that you feel comfortable with, and try and work out some ways that you can move every day for the joy of it, but also to keep your body in a state of good well-being, so that next time something goes wrong in your life, you've got a better chance of being calm and resilient through it. And then, of course, when things do go wrong and you're feeling upset, remember that movement can really help you. Some other things that help you get those big feelings through your body in healthy ways include listening to great music. You know, a lot of people respond well to just listening to music, that they love. And it doesn't take long for the brain to respond and calm down when you're singing out loud or you're singing in your head to some of your favorite music. So think about ways to bring about more music. And I work with lots of young people who just have music on their alarm. That's how they wake up, and they put background music on straight away, and it really helps keep their mood feeling good and upbeat. And listening to it, you know, even listening to music while you're walking to school or work or anything like that as well can be really great. Some other things that are really great for our well-being and our resilience and managing our emotions is time in nature. Nature brings your stress levels down virtually instantly, and they're also a great change of scenery, you know. So if you're feeling really frustrated, you're working on a project, or you've had a bit of a tough conversation with someone, you know, see if you can remember to take yourself out into nature, focus on the trees, focus on what's around you. You know, if you've got an animal, a pet, you know, animals can really help calm you down, and just watching them muck around for a bit can be really relaxing as well. Laughter is great. You know, are you laughing enough? Are you laughing every day? What makes you laugh? You know, making sure that you spend enough time having a good chuckle. You know, that's really, really good for managing your feelings, and it's really healthy for your well-being as well. Making sure that you're having enough rest. You know, it's a really hard thing at every stage of life to get enough rest, but particularly when you're a teenager and a young adult, it can be really, really hard to take that time to rest. You know, you have a lot on your mind, you might have a lot of things you're juggling, and you're kind of still pretty, dare I say, inexperienced at life. You've only been around for a few years, so everything's really new to you. So it's meant to feel a bit hard and overwhelming at times. So, you know, sometimes that can affect your sleep and how much rest you have. But we've got to have rest. We've got to pause in our life and stop. So make sure you're building in rest into your day and getting enough sleep. And, you know, probably the best thing to get a good night's sleep is really having a cut-off time for our devices. And this is super hard because devices are so much fun, and if you've got social media that you are following and enjoying, it's really hard to peel yourself away from it, isn't it? And so we just have to know that this is really affecting our stress levels. It's affecting our ability to switch off and have a good night's sleep. So I want you to really think about a reasonable time, preferably an hour before you need to go to sleep, where you can put those devices away, you know, get off the social media, and please, 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 please think about not taking your devices into your bedroom, because it keeps you in this state of alert. And if you get up to go to the bathroom at night, or you find yourself waking up, as we do from time to time in the night, you'll just be tempted to pick up that phone, and then before you know it, you've been scrolling social media, or you're online for an hour or two. And sleep deprivation is just the worst thing for your resilience and well-being. It makes it really, really hard for you to feel happy and calm and relaxed, and also get the things you need to get done during the day, and also the fun bits as well. It makes the fun bits less fun. So do think about how you can separate yourself from that. And, you know, while we're on the topic of social media, for your well-being, you know, make sure you're not just following, you know, friends and famous people and, you know, people that are doing amazing things with their life. You know, make sure you're also having a really balanced social media feed, and that you're following stuff you just love to look at. So if you like looking at flowers, well, look up some flowers that, you know, people that photograph flowers, and make sure that's coming into your feed. Or if you love puppy dogs or ice cream or whatever, or home decorating or anything like that, make sure you're following lots and lots and lots and lots of those sorts of things that match your interests and the things that you really care about. And so that way, when you are on social media, you're not just looking at what everybody else is doing. You know, part of being a young person, part of being a teenager and a young adult is you quite naturally get into social comparison. You quite naturally notice you know, where you sit compared with other people, and social media is kind of not so good for that because it's a constant reminder of other people's highlight reel. And so if you're feeling a bit glum, getting on social media can make you feel pretty awful, actually. And there's plenty of research out there now that shows how quickly we feel unhappy and depleted when we've spent too much time on social media. So do be aware of it. Yes, it's fun. Yes, there's lots of great stuff about it, but make sure it's balanced and make sure you're having a whole experience of life, so you're not spending more time than is reasonable on it. So that's social media. So there's so many other things that I want to go through with you in the time that we have together. The next thing that I'd like to cover is make sure you know what your strengths are. And there's a really great survey that I use with a lot of young people, and there's lots of different strength surveys out there, but this is one of the evidence-based ones that I really like to use. From 10 years and up, you can use it, and it's great for adults as well if you're an adult watching this for some tools. The website is called viacharacter.org. It's VIA.character.org, and I could talk for ages about it, but just briefly, what it does is you take a whole bunch of questions, actually really fun to answer, and it is online, and it asks you a bunch of questions that helps figure out what your strengths are as far as who you are as a human being. You know, are you kind? Are you honest? Are you funny? Do you love art? You know, it helps you identify those things and really bring back to the front of your mind all of these great things about you and what makes you you. And what we know is people who know what their character strengths are and who use their character strengths in as many parts of their lives as possible, they just feel more energized. They are able to enjoy life more. And the people who don't know what their strengths are, they have a tendency to feel, you know, more depleted and a bit So it's a really great survey to take, and you might need to take it every couple of years, you know, because our strengths and things change over time. But I highly recommend that, and really think about, you know, what is it that's awesome about you, and keep bringing that to your mind. You know, we've all got stuff we can improve on. We've all got stuff about ourselves that we perhaps wish was different or know we could manage differently or better. But if we get too caught up in thinking about the bits that are wrong and the things that still need working on, we don't spend enough time celebrating all of the things we're already doing really well. So I want you to focus on your strengths. I want you to focus on where you're thriving in your life, you know, what is going well. And a great way of really wiring your brain for being in that state, I'm sure you've all heard of it, is a daily gratitude practice. Taking time every single day to think about 3 things that went well. And it's not easy to remember, so you might need to stick a post-it note up to remind yourself before you go to bed or when you're having dinner with family or friends. You know, just remind yourself, well, what went well today? What am I glad about? And this just helps our mind focus on the things that we do have rather than the things we don't have. And this is really, really important for our resilience and well-being. A few more things. Another thing that will help you is having some things that you know you're good at. So there's always things that we can work on, but what are your passions and interests and hobbies? What are some things that feel quite natural to you, come quite naturally to you, that you are skilled at and that you just love doing? Are you doing enough of that? So spending time doing things, it's this thing, it's called a state of flow. Flow is like a feeling you get when you're just enjoying what you're doing and time just passes and you haven't even noticed that an hour's gone. It feels like 5 minutes. So when you're in flow, you're usually engaged in a hobby or a special interest of yours. For those of you that are thinking, oh yeah, that's me when I'm gaming. You know, gaming is great in moderation. So that wouldn't be something that brings you into that state of flow necessarily as much as doing something that uses your strengths as a human being and really tunes into your personality and your character. So it's really, really important to make sure you're spending enough time in flow every day, even just a micro moment where you're just doing something for the sheer joy of it. That could come through music and hobbies and exercise and a whole bunch of other things. So make sure you're doing that. The next thing I want you to think about is the people in your life. You know, are you spending enough time with the kind of people that you feel good interacting with, who want the very best for you, who are supportive of you, and who let you be the person that you are? Because authenticity is really important for resilience and well-being, and also having people in your life that share some similar interests, and even if they have completely different interests, that you connect on that beautiful human level where you can be yourself and be accepted for who you are. So make sure that you have those people in your life. And if you don't, it's really important you ask some trusted adults in your life to help you find your people. They are there. We all have our people, and sometimes it feels like we don't know where they are because it is hard to find where they are, but they are there. And the more you're able to tune into who you are and talk and reach out for that support and that help, you'll find them. So the next thing that's really helpful for your resilience and for your well-being is making sure that you get your feelings and thoughts out on a daily basis. So, you know, our minds run around 24 hours with these thoughts that come with such great automaticity, we don't even know they're there. But whatever you're thinking is going to have a feeling that matches that thought. So if you're feeling a bit icky, you've probably got a whole bunch of thoughts you might not even know you are having racing around in your head. So a really important resilience and well-being tool is being able to introduce some new thoughts into your mind. So thoughts that are the kinds of things that you would say to your best friend if they were having a tough time. So if your best friend was really struggling, you're not going to tell them you can't handle this, it's going to be terrible, nobody likes you. You're not going to tell your friend that. And yet so many people tell themselves those sorts of messages when they're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. So it's really, really important that you watch what you tell yourself. You start telling yourself really supportive things that are encouraging. And that is, again, really, really hard. But the more you practice it, the better you get at it and the more your brain wires for it. So maybe post-it notes are going to be your friend with this as well. You pop some notes up to remind you about thoughts you can start introducing, and next time your thoughts are not really supportive of you and you're feeling a bit negative, that's a perfect time for you to then use one of those thoughts, because your mind believes whatever you tell it. And feelings will follow. So we want to wire your brain for the kinds of thoughts that are going to help you, not make your life harder for you. So that's really, really important as well. Let me have a look at my list of things that I wanted to do. Another thing that's really helpful is try to think of ways that you can serve others. And this is really about building your empathy muscles, practicing empathy, thinking about others outside of your own head. So it might be an area you really care about, whether it's caring about animals or homelessness or people who are ill. You know, there might be something that you just naturally really care about. And once you've tuned into that, is there a way, and it doesn't have to be a lot to begin with, you know, just lean into it, little steps every day, like with anything, right? So what can you do to extend your beautiful strengths and personality out in a way that actually supports and helps other people? So this is really, really good for your resilience and well-being, and it's actually also really good for your happiness. So think about ways that you can serve others, even if it's in a really small way. And it doesn't even have to be a charity. It can be people in your family, it can be friends, it can be the next door neighbor. So just think about, well, how can I be a blessing to somebody else who might be going through a rough time, or and think of ways of doing that. It's actually really good for your resilience and well-being. Okay, the other thing that is really, well, there's so many things that are really important, is a few questions to ask yourself just to finish up as we come towards the end of this. Is try later on after this to write a big list of all the things that are working in your life. You know, what is helping your well-being? What are the things that are bringing you joy? What's working? And I want you to write that list out. And then afterwards, I want you to think about, well, how can I do more of that? You know, how can I bring more of that into my life? And, you know, ask your supporters, because resilient people don't figure it all out on their own. They go and ask for advice, and they get it inspired by people who are already there. That's a good social media trick too. You know, if you're looking at something on social media and you're feeling a bit jealous and thinking, oh, how can they do that, or whatever it is, a really good trick is to actually switch your thinking a bit and go, well, instead of feeling jealous, I'm going to feel inspired by this person, and I'm going to see what I can learn from them. So think about that. So try and introduce as many ways as you can to be doing the stuff that's actually working for your resilience and well-being. The next question I want you to ask yourself is, what isn't working? What's actually not good for your resilience and well-being at the moment? What is not helping your emotional state? And I want you to think about how you can reduce that. Now, again, ask for help. You don't have to figure this stuff out on your own. You know, nobody who is resilient and has good well-being has figured it all out on their own. And I hear from children and teenagers and adults every day those struggles that people go through as part of my job. So you're not alone if you're having a tough time. And you know, if it's hard for you to ask for help, do remember, people like helping. You know, so you know, when my friends ask me for a favor, I feel happy that they've asked me, that they've come to me and asked me for a favor. And if I'm able to help them, I take such delight in being able to help them. And your friends and family are the same. So do reach out and ask for help. So once you've got that list, look, there are some things that aren't working and don't feel great that you've just got to do because they're part of life. So if that's you, think about how you can go into those situations kind of with your armor on. Be prepared. Maybe do something you love before and afterwards to just help you cope with the emotions that you might be getting around that. And really, you know, the final thing with that list that I want you to do is think, actually there's two things. One is think about how far you've come in your life already. It's really hard to remember to keep looking back. You know, as a species, I think we're always looking forward. Like, what else do I need to do? What do I need to be able to do? What do I still need to learn? What do I need to be better at? And we do have to have those goals. Absolutely, we do. But it's also important to look back on what you've already achieved and what you're already proud of. So I really want you to take some time after you've done those two exercises to do that third exercise of, what are you proud of? What have you achieved? How far have you come? And then be really nice to yourself and take some time to go out and celebrate that. So I hope that's given you some tools to support you with your resilience and your well-being. Look after yourselves. You know, nobody feels high in their resilience and well-being all of the time. You know, life doesn't follow a straight line. It's ups and downs and curly-whirly bits. And what all you need to do is, when you're going through a tough time, you need to know you're not alone, and there are always people that can help you and want to help you. And there is always a solution, always. And it might be within your family, it might be by getting help from someone else, but do talk about it. Do let those thoughts and feelings out, whether it's initially through writing in a journal every night and making sure it's coming out, and reach out for that support, because none of us get anywhere in life in isolation. You know, we're all a result of all of the great people in our life who've supported us and been there for us. I wish you all the very best, and thank you so much for joining me today.